Okay, this is part 4 of the ancient Greeks. And here we're going to talk briefly about, this is the lost city of Atlantis, underwater. And Plato would talk about this. Plato would use lots of metaphors. His best metaphor is the allegory of the cave. But the metaphor of Atlantis, the lost city, that'll have tie-ins to other things. So I just wanted you to be aware of it, okay? Okay, now here is a story of Icarus and Daedalus. And so Icarus was the son of Daedalus, and here's Daedalus, and he was a brilliant engineer, and they figured out a way. They had been imprisoned and how to escape, and he made wings out of wax to fly. But the young Icarus would not listen to his father, and he flew too high, too close to the sun, and his wings melted, and then he crashed down into the water. And here's the landscape with the fall of Icarus by Peter Bruegel the Elder. You can see the splash down below. And it's a little bit of the mentality of the Greeks, you know, everything in balance. Don't have too much hubris, abnormal pride, and know thyself, all that kind of stuff. And be humble, all that kind of stuff. And that young people are rash and impulsive. Here's, I think, my favorite painting of them all. Lament for Icarus by Herbert James Draper from 1898. And you can see, you know, the ladies, sirens, nymphs, whatever, are with young Icarus. And he's sort of portrayed as being heroic, a hero who had failed, but was heroic nevertheless. And it's beautiful. Okay, he's got some other really nice paintings, that painter. Okay. Here's one of the paintings of, you know, Hercules through one of his labors, you know, lopping off the heads of the Hydra, and a new one grows back, you know, fighting a snake. There's a lot of stories about the great Hercules, very physical, and the Greeks sort of saw him as embodying their own heroism, like how they had defeated the Persians and other great feats. Here's one of the sculptor, you know, Pygmalion in Galatea, okay. And then I like this one quote from the scientist, the guy who figured out structured water, the fourth phase of water, Gerald Pollack. He said, "Scientists love their models almost as much as artists do." So the statue had come alive and he was in love with her. Okay, here's the story of, what I'm doing here is I'm just giving you a sense of all these Greek myths. And believe me, there's tons of them, and they're great. And I don't have time to go into all the details. They're more beautiful and wonderful than what I can describe quickly in these videos. What I'm trying to do is show you all the beautiful paintings and art that go with this. And this is we're just scratching the surface here with these presentations I'm making. So this was Echo and Narcissus. So Echo was a nymph who, because she had hid one of her friends from one of the goddesses, who was having an affair with one of the goddess's boyfriends, she had her voice taken away from her. The only thing she could say would be an echo. And then she saw the beautiful, handsome Narcissus, who was so in love with himself, he kept staring at his reflection in the water. And she could only make an echo sound. Okay, so that's one of the paintings. And I had previously joked that, you know, one of the side effects of the vegan diet is you get so skinny and you look so good that you become narcissistic, like Narcissus, okay? Because you get so much skinnier than your spouse. Okay, this is Damocles and diet, the sword of Damocles, you know. In the 400s, Dionysius, this is a different Dionysius, not the god, was the king of Syracuse, and his courier was named Dionysius. And Dionysius wanted to know what it would be like to be king. He thought it'd be so great. You got all these women, all this food, isn't it great? But what the king had told him was he doesn't understand. There's always a sword hanging over the head of the king for the dangers involved in that job. And so then when Damocles realized the danger of it, he no longer wanted to be king anymore. So that's called the sword of Damocles. And what Caldwell Esselstyn has said with regard to the vegan diet is until you stop eating the vegan diet, you're always at risk for a sudden myocardial infarction due to coronary artery thrombosis. So you make yourself protected from that by going low-fat vegan, no oil. So anyway, here's just one more painting of the same thing, the sword of Damocles hanging over his head. So it's not really that much fun to be the king. Okay, here is another sculpture by Gian Lorenzo Bernini, the great sculptor of the 1600s. Again, he was like the Michelangelo of the 1600s, you know. And this is Pluto, also known as Hades, the god of the underworld in Greek mythology, who had abducted Proserpina. Proserpina, that's her name in Latin and Roman, Proserpina with the Romans. Her name to the Greeks was Persephone. And she was the daughter of both Zeus, also known as Jupiter, and Ceres, also known as Demeter. And while picking flowers, she was abducted by Pluto, Hades, and pulled down into the underworld. There she ate some pomegranate seeds. Her mother, Ceres, Demeter, searched for her everywhere. Jupiter sort of bartered a deal with Hades, Pluto, that she could come back up above ground for half the year. And so when she's underground, Ceres, Demeter, is very sad and unhappy, so nothing can grow. She's the goddess of the harvest. And that's when you have winter in the cold part of the end of autumn and the beginning of spring. And then it gets warm for the spring and summer and early part of fall, autumn. And that is because Persephone is with her mother again, Demeter, above ground. You can see in this statue here the great detail of Bernini's, a magnificent sculptor. There's a tear coming down her cheek. The three-headed dog Cerberus symbolizes her going underground in the underworld. And it's rather beautiful. And then here's a painting of the return of spring, and Persephone is brought by Hermes there to her mother, Demeter, Ceres, and rather beautiful. And there's the return of spring. And after this, we'll start getting into more of the philosophical stuff, more of the regular Greek history. So I hope you enjoy that. And that's the end of this one. I think it's the end of part 4.